Hey metal dogs, it's been a while. It's time to do a reading for us to see what is up. I've pulled some oracle cards here and I will talk about them as they come up here. But I feel lately like I really want to start with the tarot and see what comes out there. So I'm going to do a 5-card spread, and the idea is that we have something to release, something to embrace. We have Mercury currently, who just finished being in retrograde, now crossing back over the ground that we just revisited. So it's a revisiting of what we revisited. So that'll be the next card, the 3rd card. The 4th card will be hidden influences, and then the 5th will be our glimpse at the future here. So let's see what comes up. I've been thinking quite a bit about why it is that we have things in common at all. I mean, a whole year, 1970, according to the lunar year. And when I looked at my own chart, here I'll show you. So you can get these free charts online. I can't exactly see what I'm showing you, but this is Scorpio. I'm a Scorpio. You can see where your moon is. You can see the ascendant or your rising sign. And then the planets are moving on at different speeds. And so we metal dogs, we would all have been born in a time when Saturn is in Taurus. We see Chiron in Aries, the wounded healer. Jupiter would be in Scorpio. So these are, and then there's one other here. My Neptune is right on the cusp between Scorpio and Sagittarius. So those would be slow-moving planets. You could also see that Neptune is in Libra, right? And so we have these slow-moving planets, and they're going to be in those signs for the entire year. And so that would be the idea of astrology, is that those planets, those constellations, their influence comes to us through the moon and into our bodies. That's at least the old science of how astrology worked, that all would be a fluid, and that it would flow into the moon and into our bodies through the moonlight. And of course, you could consider that when the moon is bright and that light is strong, that might have a different effect from the dark moon or the new moon. Okay, well, as I've been talking, I've pulled some cards here. I encourage you to look at your natal chart here. I actually have mine on a little medallion here, and it's pretty cool. They drew out some neat aspects on my chart, and it's just like, it's a beautiful object. It's a good way to learn astrology. So our release is the Hermit. This is going inward alone, looking inward to yourself for truth, and perhaps this is what you've been doing in this time between readings that we've done. I know I have. We're embracing the wheel. It makes me actually think of another card in another deck, which is for the 8 of Pentacles, but this is the wheel. So this is an end. It's an end. It is a beginning. It is the completion of a huge cycle and the beginning of a new one. So we'll find out more about that as we clarify. What you have revisited and are again revisiting as Mercury goes back through is the Lovers, this ideal spiritual union. What is hidden from you is this Queen of Pentacles, the very security-based queen, Earth Queen. She knows her worth. She lives in abundance. I love this figure. She has a rabbit here, symbol of fertility, also a book. And she looks like she is swooning having read this book. And there's butterflies around her. And she sits in a field of daffodils. And once I felt love, where it felt like I was like one of these daffodils, and it was just barely holding on to the stem. That's like a feeling of love that I know now, is this daffodil love. And I love that these are in this deck. Not daffodil. I'm always calling it a daffodil. Dandelion. I have a special thing for dandelions because of Ray Bradbury's Dandelion Wine. Maybe that was a part of your growing up too. If you were in my high school English class, I did read to you from Dandelion Wine very theatrically. Yeah, and this is making me think of the person who reads a book, a novel, and she gets lost in the narrative. This was a fear of decadence historically in the 19th century. That women in particular could be seduced by novels. It was very dangerous to read novels. Yeah, and the understanding was that you were supposed to be in this direct line to progress, but that a novel would get you caught up in all of the details, really present in the description and the sensations, and that you would get off track if you read a novel. And there's a lot of concern at that time about men and women just living on totally different timelines, because men were going to work. I mean, these are big generalizations that they had in their anxiety. And they would be like middle-class white Americans. And this, I think, is also broader. Like there's a whole, I had a friend that studied decadence in Europe as well. So it's kind of getting lost up in the curlicues instead of being on that path of progress. So that's this Queen of Pentacles here. In addition to her tendency to need security and commitment, I see this person lost in the curlicues. And the future appears to be a decision, a Two of Swords, two directions, very much going into the darkness. And you can see that we release the darkness and we return to the darkness. And I see this very much under the moon. And is that a waxing or a waning moon? Is that possible to tell? I have to find that out. We can't really, it's not quite. So that's a very, very powerful image, very dramatic. I see like a magician calling up power in the darkness. That's a very fantastic image of that inner battle between directions. And yeah, we'll find out more about that. Very powerful. Okay, my cat might visit us here because anytime I sit at this desk now, she thinks it's time for me to bug Heather for some food. Okay, let's clarify this message. What the oracle cards are telling us in a more general sense, and I like these readings to be, less personal, these Metal Dog ones, but you can certainly get this as a personal reading if you want. And to some degree, maybe because we start with the Hermit, we have the Lovers, but we have these singular figures of the Queen of Pentacles and the Two of Swords. Like in some way, the reading seems personal, like that this is for something for you to know about yourself, and maybe yourself fitting into the larger collective. What the oracle said to us is that this is a time to work on equal rights. This is to make equal the equator, and so this ideal as the worthy direction to aim in here, signified by this black woman and this white woman here. Secondly, we get encouraged to remember bravery, and this is about traveling, to get out of sight of familiar shores, be brave enough to leave the known. And then thirdly, there's going to be fear that comes up. And when you feel that fear, the cards tell us to breathe. And they teach us the trick of when you breathe in, to just notice that pause and to live in the peaceful, restful place of the pause before you breathe out. And again, before you breathe back in, pausing there. And so building from that space in our breath as a way of kind of coping with fear that comes up. We're in a time, the cards on the table tell us to embrace the wheel, which is the end. It's very cosmic here in this. Almost looks like we're looking up from a hole that is surrounded by roots at this web that has been cast over where we are, and then this big new cosmic world is what we're to embrace. And the wheel is about endings and about beginnings, and I think in a way the cards talking to us about to make equal, this is absolutely one of the ideals of my life, to be a part of envisioning and building a world where everybody has an equal chance to have their bare needs met, and then upon those bare needs to envision and create and live and just thrill in a life made of freedom. Not freedom to harm and do whatever, but freedom to just a livable existence, to quote Judith Butler. I just love that ideal. And to create a livable existence, we have to cease legislating for others. We have to quit having and enforcing opinions about one way of living. And so to kind of aspire to that ideal, but also to be open. I need to be open. I don't know everything. So it's more comfortable for me to know everything and to figure it out by myself. To make equal, to enter into humanity with the aspiration of social justice, right? To move from the hermit here into this, the lovers. This is what we're revisiting. How do we do this together? What is our divine connection? This is obviously about, can be read as being about a love relationship that is of a divine quality. Blessed. There's the rainbow. There's sort of feather coming down. I see the moon and the sun. So this sort of balance of the masculine and the feminine, and that can be within us. It can be in our coupledom. It can be in our friendships. And it can be on this larger social justice level. And that's what I'm catching here, is that on all levels, like to seek and understand the balance. For example, when I look at my natal chart, like I've always identified as a Scorpio, and then I have this moon in Leo, and that I had to really, the Leo and the Scorpio energy are so different. Leo's like attention, and Scorpio's like privacy. Secrecy. And then I have this Aquarius rising, and that's a fantastic, the alien, sci-fi, humanitarian future being, that we're all kind of encountering this Aquarian energy because of where the planets are right now. But then I had to really face that I had this prejudice against this Taurus, this solid, grounded, very basic security needs part of myself, where Saturn lies, also a structure. So I have this, it would come up in my cards as the King of Pentacles, and I would always say, oh, that is kind of a boring card. But the thing is, I'm steady, true blue, and we all have this in common. We all of us metal dogs have Saturn and Taurus. Check my work, but if you do your natal chart, it takes 2 years for Saturn to move through, and Saturn is solidly in the middle of Taurus on my chart. So look at yours. You can go to, I like Cafe Astrology for a free natal chart, but there's a number of possible places to get those. Okay, I'm just having a leisurely reading here with you, metal dogs. I did all 12 signs a couple weeks ago, and it was really fun. And then the one comment I got was boring, and I went through a whole emotional, it was a Libra. I went through a whole hurt feelings, and then Scorpio wanted to punish them by saying mean things that intelligent people are never bored, and being passive aggressive like that. and questioning whether I should do this, and if I'm so sensitive. And I just, yeah, so the Hermit, just the process of processing how it feels to be. And, ultimately, like, the readers I admire, my very favorite reader is Awakening to Spirit is Cindy, and I've been watching her friend Russell on Rustling Around Tarot, and he's teaching us his sense of all the elements and how to read tarot. And like, I'm 50 and you're 50, right? And I don't really care if somebody thinks I'm boring. I'm pretty sure a lot of young people think I'm boring. Like, I have gray hair, like I don't have anything to say. That's how I felt when I was a kid. So, this could just all be for me. And if you're here, well, let's find out more about this journey, this social equality, leaving the site of familiar shores. To me, this is really a more global level of equality than just within the United States. And the very sweet guidance, too, as this world changes so dramatically, to breathe. Just very simple reminders of the little tools that we have acquired in our 50 years on the planet for how to be okay with massive change. Okay, the Hermit. Let's find out. What else is the Hermit? We see the Hierophant, very spiritual. 7 of Cups, lots of choices, projections, and Page of Swords. Looks like being a student, a spiritual student. Yeah, I see you, Metal Dog, going inward. It's very spiritual. It's very ecstatic, joyful scholarship. I see the little scholar here, Page of Swords. Kind of thinking, we're in Pisces here. This person has all of these emotional options. So we're in the water, and this is a sign of water, the cups. So it can be about like having choices, being confused, projections. But I think with these two people here, I just see people who are learning, and there's through books, and then there's just kind of that on that intuitive level, which so that there has been a period of you studying, of you intuiting, of you opening yourself up on a kind of very personal inward journey. A few months ago, I think, one of the collective readings I did, and really collective readings at that time, were showing us that in order to be ready for helping create this new egalitarian, sustainable world, where that on a global level, not just in my life or my community or for my people, but for the planet, that we all needed to go inward and look at what was in here that we needed to heal and change. And so that has been a very productive process for me, for sure. Let's see. We always need to see all the cards on the table before we can get the full story. So here we have the wheel, this beautiful cobweb in this deck. What else? We have a tower, more sign of ending. The tower. This would be a divine ending, nothing you could do about it. The 2 of Wands. Waiting, envisioning, you can see the little world there. Russell of Rustling Tarot pointed out she's not holding the other wand, and so she has yet to kind of move into taking both of these wands as the way of actually envisioning. So it's like there's been a tower, and then there's a need to envision the world, but this is the moment before, right? So we've got the end of the world here, and embracing the moment before, where we're all in this, as again Russell points out, this is become a card that makes us think about how we have been sheltering in place, how we're isolated, and we're, that other wand, our fellow envisioners, we don't have, we cannot reach out and grab each other right now because it's not been safe. So this is embracing the moment after the end of the world and the moment before you begin to envision the next one. And there is also here the Emperor. It's a very powerful sense of decision, of determination, fire, Mars. Mars is in Taurus right now, and I know Mars moves quickly, so I'll have to keep track of when Mars moves on. I think it takes Mars 600 and I can't do the math there. I'm like because things don't actually orbit around the Earth; they orbit around the Sun. There's the retrograde is just when from here it looks like the planet has changed direction, is going in reverse, and then they go back forward. It's the perspective that we have from Earth, because astrology is centered around the Earth, but the Earth and all the planets are actually moving around the Sun, and so you can't just get. I can't guess yet. I know some people who are better at astrology. I mean, I am a novice at astrology. They're able to envision the heavens like a symphony. So anyway, Mars, figuring here, Mars, it has that fiery Aries, that cardinal starter, right? So this embrace is really about a process after the end of the world of becoming ready and knowing and being decisive about what you want to do. It seems important to me, it's coming out to me here. I see an African American, a black man here, and I see another brown woman. I just see people of color as as having the insight into what we need to envision here, and so when I look at these figures, and I also see that he has this symbol. I think of it as the labrys, not the labrys. I think of vampires when I see that symbol. I have to look that symbol up on his arm. It's like something I associate with vampires. So that kind of immortality here, that experience and knowledge and determination that seems to me to be coming from a much wider historical span of life. So taking us back to this goal that the Oracle tells us is social equality. It seems, obviously racial equality is a part of that. Part of it. And in some ways, I've also had this feeling that a part of what is ending is the way that I understand and think about identity. I'm a historian of identity, and I look at the history of race, gender, and sexuality in my scholarship, and it seems like this has become very mainstream. It's very not radical, not anymore, and it's wonderful that it's mainstream. To me, this is also challenging my sense of identity, a sense of what I do, what I bring to this process here. There's plenty of people speaking about what I've been teaching about and writing about, so I can vacate that space and move to a place where maybe it's more suited for me to speak. And I'm feeling quite drawn to this, to studying the occult in various ways. Okay. The Lovers. This is what we revisited as Mercury went retrograde, and now as it returns back to where it left on its retrograde journey, it again revisits. And we see here the Lovers, the revisiting of what we revisited. Here we get the Page of Wands, very young, inspired, thrilling, kind of liberated feeling here. Also a little bit of chaos, more wands, more passion. Aspiration. Lots of aspiration, reaching upwards here in these images. And the Fool. Yeah, I get this very young energy here. And so maybe if we think about this, as metal dogs, like, we're 50, we're half a century, where we've completed some sort of cycle, and it feels like the end of the world. And in reaching to this point, as Mercury went back and looked over things and is now re-looking at what we re-looked at, we see that youthfulness, our inner child, our this kind of really creative chaos of, I really think of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. I just think of all of these children that are in us, these aspirations that come from our childhood that we may have forgotten while we were being big grown-ups in a big earth-based world, and that's cracked, and now it's time. The tower has happened, and we're in this moment before we go forward with a new envisioning process of revisiting our youthful ideals. We were born in 1970, and if you look back at what was happening culturally in the 70s, and I've talked about this before in previous Metal Dog readings, we're seeing that we reached a point where, that we were told anyway, with Jimmy Carter in office, that we were nearing the end of poverty. And here we have pulled so far back from that now. But I also just think about when I was a kid, and this one here, like, she is wearing jeans. And I was such a tomboy. And I remember I had these jeans, they were plaid, orange and blue, and they were called Tough Skins. And I felt like I couldn't tell the difference between marketing and reality, right? Like, so to me, these were like magical jeans, that they were never going to get a hole in them. And indeed, I outgrew them before they ever got a hole in them. But it was like having magic. And that's what I see here too. I see all three of these cards being, magical children with their dreamy visions. And then at some point we get told, and I always resisted this. I think I wrote an essay. I know I wrote an essay in college saying that I was never going to be realistic, but we get told to be practical and realistic. And right, we have Saturn and Taurus. Like, that's a part of metal dog nature, to be very practical. And sometimes what we can do when we get practical like that is that we give up that childish, hopeful, crazy, like doing tarot is so crazy feeling for me. But this is definitely a part for me of revisiting the ideals of youth, of love, of rainbows, very youthful fantasy. And these two people, these two lovers, seem very young, very naive. And when we get the Fool, so we've had the world, we're embracing the world. This is the last card of the major arcana. And then the Fool is the new beginning, the leaping out into the unknown, the leap of faith. I just see the young heart, like a return to your young heart as you go forth. And just disabuse yourself of everything that you've been told you can't have, that you shouldn't. It's silly. Peace, equality, the end of war. These were ideals that we were born into. These were the ideals of our young parents. Maybe we should go back and get those. It seems like we might need those. And now we're the big people, right? We could stand in the way of this, what young people want. Or we could just be like, that's what I always wanted and I forgot. Okay. So let's look at the swooning Queen of Pentacles, who has just read a really good book. I thought of her when we saw this release, right? The studying, right? So she's studied. We released that. We did our homework. Right? And maybe our homework was that we read a really fantastic novel. And let me tell you, like, as someone who also is writing a novel and has several ideas and aspirations as a novel writer, like, I want to write a novel because that's how I feel when I read a great book. I feel like, forget the tower, I'm transformed by a book here. And the butterflies remind me of this as well. They're symbols of transformation here. So I see a lot of the Scorpio of our, and I think, check my work. I'll check my work too. But I think we all have in common that Jupiter is in Scorpio, this expansive experience of death, of transformation. Pluto, also very slow moving, is in Virgo. That just seems like very Earth to have transformation happening in Earth. On a very personal, individual level, I thought, gosh, maybe that's why I've had so many partners who were Virgos. I've just been so attracted to being transformed by Virgos because Pluto is there. But that can't be true for all metal dogs. So, still, it's a puzzle and lots to learn. All right, more about this hidden influence. So this would be something we're not seeing, hidden from us. And so this reading gives us an opportunity to see it. And I love when the Moon card appears in the hidden influence. This is exactly what is illusion, the hidden, right? The card epitomizes that. I see the same woman kind of, again, swooning under the water, feelings, communication, inspiration. This is movement, passionate movement. The wands, fire. It's very explosive and inspired. That seems to be what's happening under the surface here when I look at these. And thirdly, wow, more pink energy of the High Priestess. Very intuitive knowing right here. Okay, so you were being told there's something coming in. Your intuition. You should believe it. When the High Priestess comes in, trust your intuition. The Moon also. You are intuitively knowing something here. It has come in like this. I highly doubt you're unaware of this. It's just maybe you're not integrating it yet. But there is some kind of intuitive knowledge that you have. And it may have come to you while you were reading, right? It may have come to you when you were all earthy and stable and you'd taken care of everything, and you're just like, you know what, I deserve a good read here. And when you were reading Metal Dog, something came in. Or when you were sleeping, all of this stuff that's happening in the heavens above us, these dramatic, astrologers are talking about collapse of structures of inequality. Maybe you're getting some of that information here as you take your nap or sleep here, because you fall asleep on a book, and what you read is just getting mixed up in your dreams here, and you're in this dream state, and something comes in. So I don't know what that is, and you might need to remember what came in here. We're coming up on a Virgo full moon, and there's several really lovely aspects here. Let me see. Just happen to have my notes. Yeah, so we have a sextile of Uranus in Taurus with the sun. And on March 3rd, Venus sextiling Uranus in Taurus. So we have these lovely, supportive, self-love energy coming in, and this astrologer, Molly McCord, suggested that we envision pink light coming in. So I thought of this card, and I also think of in our release this Hierophant. So like this if you have been meditating and reaching out intuitively, refining your intuition, as I have been, there is something for you to know that has entered, that is working at work here, right? So we have this end of the world, this remembering of our childhood dreams, and this message coming in that leads us to this really incredible Two of Swords decision. Like this is, I think of a magician here. And I see comfort in the darkness. I also see the kind of pink energy that, much more subtle, but it's actually purple here. Yeah, and the Two of Swords is really like, I'm torn between two decisions. I put the blindfold on because I'm looking into myself, much like the Hermit, which we are releasing here, going inward to know what you want. No. Let's see if these cards can tell us a little bit more. My cat is just dying of hunger. Okay, it looks like a little bit of insomnia and anxiety in this Two of Swords. Also, Two of Cups, this is our social justice coming in. I'll talk about this a little bit more. Yeah, and a clarity of vision. Yeah. Well, this really goes back to what the Oracle cards told us, which is like there's this ideal of social justice. This is ahead. This is our future. But with transformation, with this is a very dramatic transformation in like revisiting childhood dreams. There's been Tower. We're leaping out like fools into a new world. We have to trust our intuition. There's fear that can come up. It takes courage to do this, and when you're, I think I always say this, but like, do I feel this way? Yeah, I mean, I've established a life, and when I think about the world collapsing and building a new world, I get quite excited, but I just don't want my little world to change. I'm this Queen of Pentacles, who likes her stability, who likes her security. That's my Saturn and Taurus feeling. And so, yeah, I do have nights of sleeplessness. Thank you, Zoe. Even though I dearly want, and I'm all heart in to social equality, social justice, towards a more healthy, sustainable, egalitarian relationship with the planet, which speaks to me quite clearly when I am out in the woods here, for example, or at the river, at the ocean. There's a clarity that I can feel, but I also can feel anxiety. The moon is here. Intuition is what we need to trust. We're in the moment before we see clearly about what to do after the end of the world. That's what I see. And there's definitely always been the call to work with young people and to open to people of color and open to people who are queer. We see that. I always see rainbow people here, queer, trans, like listening to the those who are situated outside of structural power in various ways. As a queer person, I have access to a viewpoint, a critique of what has been. As a white person, I need to listen to people in other situations who have other experiences that show me truth that I've been so privileged I don't need to know that. So that seems to me that we see this future of feeling a little bit torn, a little bit blind, wanting to look inward. But there's the Two of Cups. There's that mirroring of ourselves in the world. And here is really looking head on into what is coming. So I see a difference here from where we are now to where we are headed. So she is our future. This is a much more tentative person. This one has her hand on the sword, truth, and the Queen of Swords is the Queen of Clarity. And she really does know what to remove from. She knows what to cut out and what to focus on. And so that's what we have here, Metal Dog. It feels very powerful and inspired, and I felt really moved at this, the lovers, to understand that this is about returning to the visions of our youth. Go back to the 70s, new games and free to be you and me, and that the Equal Rights Amendment was just like, of course we're going to pass it. Republicans supported that. But then we regressed, or we needed to dwell in incredible inequality, like to build to this level of inequality that we are at now. We are at a breaking point. That has happened in these 50 years. So metal dogs, in the 10 years now before the next generation of little metal dogs are born, because we were born every 60 years, we have some work to do to prepare for the next generation of metal dogs to come in. And yeah, that makes me really wonder about their natal chart. What will it be like in 10 years? We shall see. Yeah, thanks for going along with this with me, just getting in my little head, or big head. It feels like this is my head. This is my head. Thank you for joining me here, my friends. And I hope you got something out of this too. Let me know. I would love to get your comments. Just other than boring, I would love to know what you're thinking about with your journey. Not about me or, how boring or interesting I am. I really do believe that we have to know in ourselves, like, our worth, right? That's what the Queen of Pentacles here is like. I know my worth. You know your worth. Let's share and envision together here. And I would love to see those kinds of comments or anything. There's no wrong way. Hopefully just kindness, generosity. All right. Have a beautiful day.